Word on Wealth Radio Network.
Is my son online?
This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law.
Not calling yet.
Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney, protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. Now, live.
Is Matt online? Hey, happy Friday, everybody. This is Gary Quackenbush. And so good to have you along. So today, you know, those of our regular listeners, Monday through Thursday, we talk about wealth with a dollar sign in front of it. And then on Fridays, we talk about wealth without a dollar sign in front of it. An excellent guest that I've had on my show many times, who I am very closely related to because he's my son, Matt, told me that wealth was the state of enough-ness. And I've just taken that to heart because it's really true that when you're, if you feel like you have wealth, then you feel like you have enough. So I think that's pretty awesome. And to kind of make this day even better, this show even better, we have Matt with us today on the show. Matt, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing great. It's great. You know, you told me, it's funny. You probably remember this. You said, Dad, do you know how to tell if somebody is from San Diego? And I thought, this is a Matt question. It's probably a trick question. How do you tell if somebody's from San Diego, Matt? And you say they always talk about the weather.
About the weather.
About the weather. And I go, oh, well, it's really nice weather today, Matt. So anyway, it's funny. It is. And I know, just kind of have a bad habit of talking about the weather because we pay a lot for our weather. And so we got to be super proud of that. But that's okay. I'm grateful. Grateful.
You should be grateful. That's great weather. I miss it. I think about it every day during the winter out here in Utah because it's cold. It's cold today here. We're in spring. And I went snowboarding on Wednesday, and we're full mode spring, and it snowed another 4.5 inches up at the resort I like to go to, which has close to 900 inches this year. They're like at 860. It's mania in Utah.
Crazy.
Tons and tons and tons of snow. Yeah, we're scared of flooding and all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's safe to live in San Diego.
It's one of those things where we're like, we're in a drought and all the news is going crazy. There's a drought. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. There's a drought. We're going to die. We're all going to dry up and all the lakes are going away. And it's like, I guess people were going like, please, please, please send rain, send rain. And now it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Here you go. It's like, there's so much rain. It's crazy. Yeah, we even got rain here. Amazing. But it stopped. So today we're nice and warm and all that stuff. And I hope it's nice. And it's supposed to be nice in a couple of weeks when I come up there. So hopefully it will be. We'll see.
It better be.
So you listeners, appreciate you being along here on our Finding Joy Friday, where we explore kind of mental wealth. And Matt is a mental health professional. He specifically is a trauma therapist that flies basically all over the United States and gives and does teaching and lessons and instruction on dealing with trauma therapy, specifically with first responders. Needless to say, as his father, I am super proud of what he does. Even as an attorney, as a professional, I'm proud of what he does because I deal with, we all deal with mental health issues. We all try to pretend like they don't exist, but they are everywhere. And I think recognizing that it's okay to know that there are mental health issues. It's okay to talk about mental health, just like our regular physical health. So I was talking to Matt the other day, and we were talking about some of the things in his therapy practice. I was just asking, like, so, what are you finding? What's been helpful to you? What are kind of some, not necessarily breakthroughs, but what are some thoughts that you can talk about? And Matt, you talk specifically about curiosity and gratitude. And so I wanted to get in that a little bit, like as you in your practice and you're talking to people that, have these, these really just addictive problems and things they're really suffering from. And tell us what you're finding out about curiosity versus ignorance and gratitude versus entitlement.
So as I've done this now, working with, literally tens of thousands of hours, sitting down, talking to people, reading, learning, assessing, doing my own work, it's this never-ending inundation of data and information, right? And being able to kind of, a therapist who's worth his or her salt is able to boil down all that information and all that stuff that they've been soaking in for all these years, for tens of thousands of hours, like a good attorney would be able to do, and be able to succinctly provide information that is palatable and useful. And I think the best of the best when it comes to clinicians or psychologists or, even like pop psychology authors, like we got some Brene Brown stuff I'm sure will come up today, right? She was major for a while today. We've got like your Jordan Peterson, all these people that are just brilliant, and they can take massive concepts and boil them down into something that's very succinct and palatable and useful. So I've been trying to do the same thing, and I have just found that there's, and this is an oversimplification for sure, but people come into my office, and more often than not, these people are wanting
2 minutes.
And that seems very extreme from you're like, well, I don't want to not die. I want to live, but how do I make my life better?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a formula to it. Like if you want to live, it's the same formula for the guy who wants to die, right? You need to be able to find something in your life that makes your life worth living.
Okay.
And what I have found is that most people who are struggling with mental health are struggling with two things: entitlement and ignorance. Okay. And entitlement is this idea that I am owed something and things are supposed to be different than the way that they are. The way that things are bad. And so I need things to be different, and it should just be that way. Entitlement.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, you guys, we are talking, our first section is so fast, but we've got Matt Quackenbush. He's a trauma therapist. He basically spends his time teaching people about the concepts we're talking about now. Believe me, Matt has a lot going on in his life. He's got 4 young kids. He's all over the place. He has a fantastic career, taking care of a lot of people. And it was really, it's a pleasure to have him on the air. So what we're talking about now is basically kind of a summation of things that can help us based on what he's found in his practice. If you want to ask Matt a question, you can call 888-344-1170 to be on the air with us today to ask him a question. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to keep talking about specifically entitlement, because it's interesting the way you're defining it, because it makes a lot more sense to me the way you're defining it. Entitlement, and what is the opposite, how to get out of that. We're going to be talking about ignorance and how to get out of that. So listen up here on The Word on Wealth. We'll be right back.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com, download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
So Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that, and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. They'll have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQlaw.com.
Trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime. If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecos and the Pecos Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of The Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on The Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecos has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecos Group, from single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings. Ken Pecos is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecos.com. That's Ken Pecos, Pecus.com, or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010566969, brokered by eXp Real.
Thank you for joining us for Gary Plays the
Team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST. Or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQlaw.com, 855.
You're live.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to The Word on Wealth. Today, it's Finding Joy Friday. We've got a special guest here with us, and that's Matt Quackenbush. He's a trauma therapist that spends his, when he's not being a dad to four incredible children and his darling wife, Brindy, when he's not doing that and working and doing his therapy in his therapy office and with the companies that he works with, he's all over the place lecturing and teaching about the stuff that we're talking about today. So believe me, when I say this, listen up to the show. And when you want to hear it again, just remember the day you're listening to it, this is going to be on our podcast. It'll be on any podcast platform. You just look for The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush, search for Matt Quackenbush, and he's going to be right on there. And you can have this stuff because this is good stuff. Matt really knows this stuff. I'm not just saying that because he's my son, but just because he really does. I know he helps a lot of people. It's super awesome. Okay, so Matt, thank you again for being here. If people want to ask a question of Matt, call 888-344-1170. So we were talking about entitlement, and the way Matt is defining entitlement, and this is in his therapy practice, is he keeps finding people that are really struggling like entitlement. And I haven't heard it defined just like you did, Matt, where you're saying entitlement is somebody that's saying, you know, my life just should be different. It's not supposed to be this way. I just want it to be different. And that's what you were talking about.
Well, it's entitlements. It's like, right, like in the legal world, if I'm entitled to something, I'm owed it.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if I believe that I'm entitled to something, that I'm owed something, but I haven't earned it. That discrepancy is really confusing for our minds. And so it creates this like discontent, right?
Mhm.
And so what I've found is like there's this relationship between ignorance and entitlement, where if I'm ignorant to like reality and the way things actually work in the world,
Ah,
if I'm just kind of like stuck in the way that I've always seen things and I'm not open to the way things might be, and I'm entitled to things being different, that creates a state of ill mental health. That's your depression. That's your anxiety. That's your sickness. And your body begins to do really protective things, and it begins to inflame. It begins to, show all sorts of problems with digestion and things like that. And what I've found is that this ignorant, entitled kind of mentality, this kind of way of being, this state, seems to result in trauma. And as I work with people, if you realize that there's areas of your life where you're entitled, well, more often than not, that's because something happened in your life a long time ago, and you're just kind of stuck there. And you feel like it should never have happened to you. And you got dealt a raw hand or a raw deal, and it was unfair that it happened to you, and you're upset that it did, right? And that's what trauma is. Like, this should have never happened to me. And so there's like this really like weird discord happening in the body, and the body is upset that this thing happened and it should be different. If I keep that mentality going throughout my life, I'm going to be pretty miserable. So
so I guess then, Matt, it's like, because I feel like I am entitled to not feel like this. I should feel different. I should be treated different. My life should be different. And I, it just simply should be different than it is. And so that would then put me in some type of this stasis where I'm saying, well, it just should be different. And I'm not willing to say, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. Instead of, I just feel I'm picked on. It's not supposed to be this way. And I'm depressed. And now I'm just not going to function. I'm just going to sit here and blame it on everybody else and not move forward. Is that kind of what's happening with the entitlement thing?
Yeah. Well, what we know is that the nervous system is directly linked to the immune system. They're like married together. They work together. And the way the immune system works, right, is the immune system is constantly on high alert, looking for foreign elements in the body that it needs to fend off. Okay. The nervous system works in the same way, looking for foreign elements that it needs to fend off. Well, my nervous system is highly attuned to the way that things are not. It has this idea of the way that things should be, but that's not the way that things are. So every single time my nervous system is reminded of the way that things aren't, I am now upset, and I'm angry and irritable and frustrated and anxious, or I'm depressed and pulled back and lonely and isolated. And this is all protective. It's all trying to keep me from feeling the feeling of being discontent with the world. Yet here I am, discontent with the world, upset with the way things are, when really the antidote to this just becomes, you have to accept that things are the way that they are. And you can't do anything about it. You can't. It's just, this is life. Life is the way that it is. And what mental health really means, what really mental resilience and stress resilience really is the ability of an individual to be okay with the way that things are, not wishing that they were different.
Okay. And so when you say that you can't do anything about it, meaning you can't do anything about the way things are happening around you, the way the environment is affecting you, whether it's your emotional, basically your outside forces that are that are kind of causing you to react, or that are, acting against you or around you or affecting you or whatever. Those are the things that we can't stop that. That's the stuff where you have to say, this is just the way it is. I wish it to be different, but that doesn't make it go away or change. We can't change what's going on around us, like kind of on our own little level, right?
Yeah. Well, if you wake up in the morning and it's raining outside and you go outside and you're angry that it's raining and you refuse to carry an umbrella and you go to your first meeting and you say, I'm so wet. Like, why am I so wet? This is so stupid. I'm wet all the time. Why can't it just stop raining? Somebody hopefully would kindly, gently say to you, hey, there's these things called umbrellas. And if you just put an umbrella over your head, it will keep you from getting wet. And then you don't have to be mad that you're wet because you're not wet and you just protect yourself. That's literally what we're doing.
I don't have an umbrella and I don't want to use an umbrella.
Somebody should just give me an umbrella.
Hey, where,
my umbrella is broken. Go buy a new one. Well, I can't afford an umbrella. Well, go earn money to buy an umbrella. But I don't have a job. Right. And this is a hard, it's so frustrating and really difficult because people sit down in my office and they're just so mad at the way the world is. And I just look at them and I just go, the world is, and you can be okay with the way that it is. And what's taught me this more than anything else is working for the last, almost a decade now. I've been working for 8 years. Every single week I've sat down with someone who's buried a child.
Oh, wow.
And working with these people has taught me this because they have to accept things as they are, because there is something in their life that's no longer there, that they feel entitled to because it's your kid and you're not supposed to lose a kid. But the thing that they have to accept is that sometimes you lose your kid. And that's so brutal. And they can find gratitude in losing their child. I watch these people in front of my eyes find gratitude in their child's death. And it's like being taught, there's nothing like it. It's unbelievable. And to learn from these people who are dealing with the most difficult of circumstances and to still find gratitude in that, you have to look for a common denominator. And really the common denominator to this whole thing, right? Because again, the enemy is ignorance, refusal to learn. So what would the antidote be to refusal to learn? Well, it would be learning. And so what is the state of learning?
Curiosity. Right.
It's openness. And if you can embrace a state of curiosity and openness and willingness to learn, you become grateful. And so curiosity becomes like the end all be all thing for human beings. We're in this beautiful, wonderful experience that is at times very dark and rainy and scary so that we can learn things. And why do we learn things? So that we can share them with who? With ourselves, with me, with you. That's why you do your radio show. That's why we have listeners here. Like the only reason people are listening to the show right now is because they're curious. And as you're curious, you're open. And as you're learning, you're growing. And as you're growing, you're benefiting. But the opposite of that is an unwillingness to learn, staying stuck, an entitlement, believing that things should be different than the way that they are. But curiosity breeds this willingness to accept things the way that they are and learn about the way that things are, if that makes any sense.
It totally makes sense. No, I get that, because just from a lay perspective, if you stay in ignorance, then, ignorance to me, I always looked at the word like ignorance is ignore, and ignore is you turn the other way. You just go, arms folded, look the other way. And I'm giving you the silent treatment. I'm ignoring, instead of, trying to figure out what is going on. I'm just going to say, I don't want to know what's going on. I just want this fixed. I talked to a guy on our show. This was a couple of months ago. His name is Kip. And Kip has been through cancer 3 times. Literally, he beat it the first time. And he said, good, I beat cancer. I made it through. I survived it. Okay, now I can get on with my life and I can move forward. And then he got sick again. And it was like, okay, I can beat this cancer. And he fought and beat it. And then his 3rd time he got it again. He said he was down to like 89 pounds from like 180. And
oh my gosh.
Yes. And the thing that he found, he wrote this really cool book. But his whole thing was that he just had to get curious. He's going like, if I keep waiting for this hard thing to be gone, if that's what I'm waiting for, then what am I doing in the meantime? He says the first time it took me like 8 months to beat it. I lost 8 months of my life. I just was pissed off and I just lost that much of my life. And then it happened again. And he said, I just realized the third time is like, hey, I have to find joy because I'm going to die here. I need to find something. And so he went outside himself and, curiousness, openness, and tried to figure out, am I going to survive this? And if not, what's in the world around me? And I think it's kind of that's kind of what I feel, with this, what you're talking about is getting curious, don't be ignorant and ignore it. Just, we really need to look around and say, this is what's happening. It's the way it is. And life hands you, as a kid, my mom always used to say, well, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. And I always thought, oh, Mom, that's so dumb. And then you get older and go, oh my gosh, Mom was so smart. Yeah, it's so good. Making good out of bad. This is the Word on Wealth. This is our Finding Joy Friday. We've got Matt Quackenbush, a trauma therapist who's on the line with us, and he's going to be here right to the top of the hour. If you have questions for Matt, we'd love to hear from you. That's 888-344-1170. We're going through talking about, curiosity versus ignorance, gratitude versus entitlement. After we take a really quick break, I'm going to ask Matt a little bit. We're going to get into a little bit more about belonging versus conforming. It's something that I've been kind of been dealing with a lot in my mind lately. So Matt's going to help us with that coming up next here on the Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com. Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
You're live.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. Today is Finding Joy Friday. We've got Matt Quackenbush, a trauma therapist, an expert in the stuff that we're talking about. You guys are getting some seriously awesome material here on this show. You can find it again if you want to go back and re-listen to it. You can go to find any podcast platform and search for Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush, and you can find this show today with Matt. So good to have Matt on. We really appreciate him being here, Matt. This is super good. I've always, I'm a big fan of gratitude ever since, when my show started a long time ago, and you were kind of one of my first guests. I went, Matt, help me out. So, sure, Dad, what do you want to talk about? And really, I remember I said, I really want, because I try to get this out of every show, is what is one thing that anybody listening to this show can do to help their to deal with like their depression, anxiety, discomfort, whatever. What can people do to have a better attitude and find joy? And your number one thing was gratitude. And we talked a little bit about how to do that. So, the gratitude, I think people kind of think, oh, it's just such a coy little answer. It seems too easy. But then when you get into the study and the understanding like you have of gratitude, it is so big. I mean, it's scientifically reproducible that people, when they feel gratitude, there's different things that happen in your body physically and chemically, and to help you get through difficult times, like the anger, depression, isolation, and that type of thing. So really appreciate you doing this. If you guys have questions for Matt, 888-344-1170, we'd love to hear from you. Matt, if we could do this, I want you to, I know you're finishing your thought kind of on the curiosity versus ignorance, gratitude versus entitlement. And I want to address that for a couple more minutes. And then I really have a big question for you about belonging versus conforming. Been thinking about that a lot lately. And I thought, well, if I get you on the show, I can ask you. You guys understand, Matt and I did not practice this. This is raw, real, authentic, open, about as transparent as you can get. And there's a couple people listening. So. All right. So help us. A couple more pointers, like how can we be grateful, and and how will that help us out?
Okay. So a big thing with gratitude, the reason why it's so important. First of all, like you said, our nervous systems are hardwired for gratefulness, for gratitude. When I am grateful, my body is producing chemicals that is reinforcing that practice. And the cool thing about practice of gratitude is there's never a performance. You're just practicing. And it's just this thing that you just keep doing over and over and over, accepting that how you are is enough, who you are is enough, where you are is enough, right here, right now. And you don't need anything to be different. And so what that creates is this belonging to the moment, to now. And you don't want to be in the past, and you're not mad at the past, or you're not mad at the future. You're not mad at the present either. You're in it, and you don't want it to be different, and you're just great at it, great with it. So I get an example of this all the time. My favorite thing that I get to do regularly, and there's many, but every night, more or less, I go into little Layla's room. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I have one daughter. I have three sons and a daughter, for the listeners out there. Dad, And Layla, she is just the sweetest, kindest, most gentle, beautiful little thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
Every night, she grabs my hand, she takes me into a room, and I sing her little song, and she falls to sleep. And you can hear how meaningful that is to me. And it's so simple. It's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's just this thing that happens every day. And I look forward to it so much, because what gratitude also is, it's an understanding that this is short. The moment that you have is fleeting. The time that you have is fleeting. There's an end to this thing called life. And life as you know it now may never be again. Things go bad real quick. Things change in an instant. We have no idea what lies just around the corner. And so gratitude is this thing where I get to really focus on belonging to myself, belonging to the moment, belonging to where I'm at, and not needing to be, act, feel anything else. And in my opinion, and in my, what I've learned is that it's the end all be all. It is the thing. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more important than gratitude, because really what gratitude is rooted in, and it's love. It's love for now, for what we have.
That is
It's
so
an
powerful.
appreciation for
Mhm.
it's everything.
Mhm.
And it will go. But people, when you want things to be different, you rob yourself of what is. Because what is the only thing that you will ever have. And kind of transitioning into this belonging versus conforming thing, right? Where we can get this feeling of appreciation for the present from, of enoughness, right?
Mhm.
Of gratitude for what we have. It comes from within. And I know this is a conservative radio network where there's a lot of faithful people listening.
Mhm.
So we can get kind of, spiritual here for a second. What belonging is it's a connection to self, to God, to love, to the present, where I am getting my sense of enoughness and good enoughness from within. And that comes from God, right?
Mhm.
Whereas the opposite, which is conforming, or what sometimes is also appropriately called fitting in, is getting my sense of enoughness or good enoughness or goodness or appreciation or value, right, from outside of myself. And that is, I look to the world around me and I say, okay, what's going on?
Mhm.
I got to make sure that I'm safe. I got to make sure that I'm okay. And I kind of assess the way that things are, and I kind of adjust myself and my behavior and whatever to fit into the situation that I'm in and conform to it, rather than show up with, authenticity, which I love this Brene Brown quote.
2 minutes.
Belonging. She says, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. And that's what real belonging is. It's embracing me as is.
Matt,
I don't need to be different.
say that quote one more time. That is so powerful. I think that is really the message of today. Say that, the Brené's quote again, please.
Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are.
I love that. That is super powerful. I mean, that really means a lot, because in the way you're describing, I really appreciate it. You're obviously you feel very passionate about this, and this is because this is your life. This is Matt. This is how authentic you are and how understanding you are of people, and you're helping people every day with this, which is just so wonderful. I love having a true expert, helping our listeners understand this. So on the belonging versus conforming, just a little bit more on that, and we're gonna have to take a break in just a second. But what I want to talk about, we'll have about like 7 or 8 minutes to talk about. The conforming thing is a big problem that I'm seeing. I really want people to understand what belonging is and what is the difference between belonging and conforming. And I'm going to go back through that definition with you again about you feeling your enoughness from within, and how that leads to kind of authenticity, because that, those are buzzwords, and the reason they are buzzwords is because they really make sense and they really do work. This is reality. It's something that you can fight it, but it's reality. I want to talk about the authenticity. You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. I'm on with trauma therapist Matt Quackenbush. He's agreed to be on with us today, right to the top of the hour. If you want to be part of the show and ask Matt a question, the number is 888-344-1170. This is The Word on Wealth. This is Feel Good Friday, Finding Joy Friday here on The Word on Wealth. We'll be back in just a minute to continue talking to Matt Quackenbush here on The Word on Wealth.
You don't need to know.
Just, there is a caller who wants to ask Matt a question, and his name is Jim from Santee.
The
Okay.
Word on Well with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
Gary, your team at GQ Law are experts at solving IRS and state tax problems. Talk about that.
When people have a tax problem, it tends to really stress them out. And one of the things we've been able to do is figure out how to resolve tax problems. One thing we might be doing is setting up a payment plan or getting a collection delay, maybe getting a determination that the person shouldn't have to pay the taxes at all. We do offers and compromise. We do audit reconsiderations. And one of the things that's a really powerful tool that some people don't recognize is sometimes bankruptcy can be used to actually eliminate taxes when there's certain conditions of the code that are met. So we can do all kinds of things. After we analyze your situation, we can figure out what's available, discuss your options, and figure out which ones to implement, what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. And we can get people out from under all kinds of tax problems so they can sleep again. That's our goal.
Request your free initial consultation. gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, gqlaw.com.
Who will you trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime? If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecos and the Pecos Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of The Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on The Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecos has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecos Group. From single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings, Ken Pecos is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecos.com. That's Ken Pecos, Pecus.com, or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010566969, brokered by eXp Realty.
Hi, I'm Gus.
Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500.
You're live.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Finding Joy Friday on The Word on Wealth. Monday through Thursday, we talk about wealth with a dollar sign, estate planning, wills, trust, taxes. Wow, we got real estate, we got finance. And then today is Finding Joy Friday, where we talk about our mental conditions and mental health. And Matt, mental health professional, is helping out with that. And he's also agreed to take some calls. So we've got Jim from Santee on the line. Jim, hey, welcome to The Word on Wealth. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks, Gary. Hey, man, I have a question for you. So basically, I have a very extrinsic personality, and at times it's so much debilitating to me. And I love, to change that to be the opposite, being more intrinsic. And I don't know if you have any advice for me on changing that.
Yeah, man. I think what we humans all strive for is having like self-worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And finding self-worth is something that becomes this battle throughout our entire life. And being able to find that from inside me is not easy, right? That's how we grow up and what we were taught is kind of how we're going to look for it. Like this self-worth thing. And so I'm guessing that your lifestyle is such that outside of you, you get rewarded. But what is it within you that you're proud of, that you feel is the thing that these people like about you? Like, what do you like about you would be the question that I would ask first.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if you're asking me, I think I'm a nice guy and stuff like that, for sure. But I mean, it gets to the point where very, small, minute things, like if I do the dishes, my wife comes home from work and I do the dishes, I'm expecting a little bit of reward or gratitude or something like that, just for doing a simple, job like doing the dishes that need to be done. I don't get upset or anything at her, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, she better say thank you for me doing the dishes, and I won't get upset or anything. But in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I hope she says thank you for doing the dishes, even though she really doesn't need to. But I almost kind of feel she better. And do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Totally. No, I know exactly what you're trying to say. And so there's a couple different ways to kind of work through this. We'll stick with the mental way to work through this, because you can actually use the mind, you can use the body, you can use a whole batch of different stuff, right? We'll use like a mental trick or mental thought process. When your wife's coming home and you did all the dishes and you're expecting her to tell you that she's really proud of you for doing the dishes, if she doesn't do that, you feel like crap. Now imagine yourself in this scenario, and instead of waiting for your wife to come home and tell you that you did wonderful doing the dishes, you just decided to do the dishes because, like you explained before, you're a nice guy. And now there's no expectation there whatsoever. Your wife comes home, and what are you expecting to happen?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So you're not disappointed anymore, right? You're not entitled to her giving you the praise that you need. And so that's just like a mental flip that we do. And it's just this practice of saying, I do the dishes because I'm a good guy and good guys do the dishes, not because I need my wife's approval. And that over time will kind of change the way that your brain fires. And you can do that in multiple ways throughout your life. Why do I do what I do? Because that's who I am. And that's what I do, not because somebody else thinks that's who I am, or because somebody else is going to praise me for doing the thing that I do, right? That's the difference between this like belonging thing rather than the fitting in thing, and the conformity thing. And, it's being cool with who I am, right? So I got a quote for you real quick.
Okay.
Belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Because of this yearning, we often try to acquire it by fitting in and by seeking approval. So what I get from that is that this desire to be loved and appreciated and valued is very human. And being okay with that desire is really important. But how I go about nurturing that desire determines my level of happiness. Because if my wife is responsible for giving that to me, who has all the power in my relationship?
Yeah, she does for sure.
Right? And so I take my power back by doing the dishes because I do the dishes and I don't need anything from her. I'm just happy she's home. And it takes away all this pressure, and it takes away all this for tat transactional relationship stuff that shows up in our relationships so often. Hope that helps, man.
Makes sense. I appreciate the advice there, Matt.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jim. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Jim. Thanks for being part of the Word on Wealth. On our Finding Joy Friday. I really appreciate that. And Matt, that was really fantastic. Appreciate it. Matt, yeah, thanks for listening to the show, man. Hope you have a really good weekend. Have a good rest of your Friday. All right, that's cool. So that's interesting. That's something that we deal with quite a bit. And how Jim was saying, he really kind of seeks extrinsic reward versus he wants to, and that I think that's really cool. I want to find intrinsic, and you've said that before. It's like, I'm cool with who I am. I'm cool with the sacrifices that I'm making, because that's the empowering thing, that, I am good with me. I'm doing this because that's just part of me. And I don't need somebody to say, pat me on the back. And I know you've told me that before. And I know I don't want to get too personal, but it's not like Matt does therapy with me every time I'm with him, although I try to always have him give me advice. But I remember something really similar to what Jim was talking about, where I was thinking, gosh, it would really be nice if somebody at my office just gave me a pat on the back. Hey, Gary, way to go. And Matt says, Dad, you own the company. You hired the employees. You basically run the show. How could you actually expect that your employees would pat you on the back and say, you're a good boss. Thank you. That he said, you need to you have to have the intrinsic reward and understand that he says, Dad, your joy, it has to come from within the fact that you have a company and you have these people that are working with you and you have this great team and the things that you're doing. And it has to be that intrinsic inside of me, kind of get your self-worth from inside and from what you're doing and what's happening. And don't expect somebody to come up and say, hey, that's really cool. Nice job. It's like, I'm not entitled to that. And that changed me. It really changed me.
That's awesome. And another thing that we can do besides changing our thinking is you can change your behavior.
Okay.
So another way that anybody can, include it, you, me, is you do stuff that nobody's ever going to know about. And you do it just because that's who you are. And so this is why with my patients, right, every single patient that I've worked with for the last several years, I say, go into the cold. And they're like, the cold? And we've even talked about this on your show before, Dad, right?
Oh, yeah.
Go into the cold. Why? Because you don't have to, and it sucks, and it's uncomfortable, and it's really good for you, and it's very, very, very short exposure to something that is challenging, and you only do it for you. Nobody's going to praise you for getting in cold water, right? Nobody's going to pat you on the back and say, good job. It's only you that has to do this. And it's this battle with you every single day that you go through. Do I go into the cold? And I've been doing this for the last several years, and I can't tell you how beneficial cold water exposure has been for me. And I've been preaching this stuff for 5-6 years, and it's all over TikTok, it's all over Instagram. It's an industry now, right? They have cold plunge. You can go buy one off the internet for like $3,000. It'll show up at your house. You can have a cold plunge in your house, right? Like it's all the rage because of all the benefits that are there. But I can't tell you the mental benefit and the physical
2 minutes
from just doing something uncomfortable just for you. No one's going to praise you for it. The same thing as going to the gym, right? Another one that I absolutely love that is underappreciated is just mindfulness meditation, which we talked about before, but sitting, breathing, being with yourself, listening to your thoughts, listening to the world around you for 5 to 10 minutes a day. You do this for 8 weeks, for 5 to 10 minutes a day, 5 out of 7 days a week. You can literally measure neuronal growth in your brain, in the part of the brain that is responsible for creating meaning, for creating purpose, for creating understanding, for creating rationale, for creating relationship context, for connecting consequence. It's the front part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. 5 to 10 minutes a day. That's it.
Matt, I really appreciate that. So, okay, you guys, you got those two things, a couple things from Matt. I told you we'd get some good stuff from Matt. We've had an hour with him, Matt. I really appreciate you taking this time. I remember on behavior parts, I mean, from a mental standpoint, be cool with who you are, be cool with the sacrifices that you made and decided to do. And then behavior, I mean, it's into the cold. I subscribe, it makes a big difference. And then the meditation, that's it, man. Matt, I really appreciate you being on the show with us today. This is, Finding Joy Friday. This is my very favorite show of the week. And I'm really grateful that you came on the show with us today. Appreciate it.
Hey, I have a podcast, people. Finding Strength Podcast. Check it out. We've got over 50 episodes, tens of thousands of downloads. Check it out. Podcast everywhere you get it. Finding Strength Podcast. Hit me up.
All right. Finding Strength. We're going to do it. I'll put it in my YouTube description, you guys. Thanks for being on the show today, Matt. Everybody have a great weekend. See you later. Bye.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The opinions